And welcome into the CTV Beam Iron Bowl special. I'm Jay Coulter, host of Track 'em Tigers, and I'm joined today by Sean Taylor, host of Tide Talk, and Jason Dyer, our sponsor of Track 'em Tigers, owner of Extreme Power Sports. Jason, glad to be with us. Sean, glad to have you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I've been looking forward to this all year.
I have too, actually.
I just wish we had a better game to talk about. And I got to throw that out there and be honest with you.
Well, listen, we were talking before the show. I don't ever take anything for granted. I mean, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but in years past, either when Alabama was struggling, they always play well. When Auburn's struggling, they always play us well. So it's going to be a battle. I'm going to tell you, I don't buy into the 24.5 point spread. So it'll be interesting to see.
And before we dig into all this, Sean, I know you want to thank your sponsor. I certainly want to thank Jason. Jason has been with us all season long. He is taking care of Track 'em Tigers. He's paid the freight for this show. Great organization over in Columbus. What do you got going over there right now? We're getting into the holiday season.
It is. It's all about the kids and the off-road and the Christmas presents for the kids. And I think what I want to tell people is basically here at the holidays, you're looking for your kids for Christmas present and all. Buy something dependable. It's not about spending the most amount of money out there, but it's about buying something that's dependable. We just have a lot of people come about that's after Christmas who bought something, say, from a Walmart or a Sam's or from a pawn shop, and they're crying because their kids' Christmas presents broke. But buy something that's dependable. We sell reputable brands. We're a dealer, and we can get the parts. We're there to service the units. We've been there 20 years. So just make sure you buy something that's dependable, and we can certainly help you with that.
Yeah. Got Black Friday coming up, and I understand that you're having a special on Black Friday. Buy one ATV, get one free. Is that?
Would that be nice?
I wish we could do that.
I'll be there at the front door.
That's a joke. And wish we had Bob English here, but you want to talk a little bit about Bob?
Yeah, Bob's been a great sponsor. Big Alabama fan. Carried us all year long. So I want to just make sure that you guys see Bob English with State Farm Insurance for all your insurance needs. Great guy. Wished he could be here with us tonight, but he had some things come up. And but we're thinking about you, Bob, and roll Tide.
Yeah, good fella. Go see Bob. All right, it's Iron Bowl week.
It is Iron Bowl week.
It's here. First thing I want to throw out to you, what makes this game different from any other college football game in the country? We got Ohio State, Michigan this week, Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina. We had UCLA, USC over the weekend. Why is this one so different?
Well, I'll take the first stab at that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Listen, everybody has their rivals. I mean, as you mentioned, those big schools have rivals too. It just feels different in the South. You hear people talk about 365 days a year. That's the fact. I mean, I was just reading the other day an article, and the players talk about one of the reasons they want to go to Alabama is because it's football 365 days a year, and it comes from the fans as well. I mean, so I think that's a huge part of it. But the rivalry has just been so great over the years, and man, I tell you, as we said, it really doesn't matter who's number one or who's ranked and not ranked, because these two teams are going to come out there for pride in their state. Who's the best in the state, and just like last year, Alabama comes in ranked number one, and they get their butts handed to them, and so who knows with respect to the outcome. I just know that, man, it's such a great rivalry. Since I was a kid, I mean, you couldn't wait for Alabama-Auburn week.
Yeah,
no
question.
Be a good one to see.
Well, I think too, growing up in the state of Alabama, there's no professional teams. So everybody here gravitates towards the colleges, and with Auburn and Alabama, of course, being the biggest, it's a dividing line there, and
really
people kind of pick a side pretty early on, and then it just becomes a pretty good rivalry. And the people here in the state have just taken a lot of pride in having good teams at both Auburn and Alabama, and it's just really taken its own atmosphere with the upsets and some of the things that have happened, some of the crazy finishes, and even this year with the Alabama being a pretty heavy favorite, you just never know. You never really know. So it just makes a lot of fun.
Yeah. This year we talked before the show, Jason. It doesn't really feel like a normal Iron Bowl week for Auburn people just because Alabama's such a prohibitive favorite, a 24-point favorite. Something interesting I was digging up, getting ready for this show. This summer, the initial line that came out before the season started, Alabama was -7. That has gone to -24. in a few short months. You know, not a whole lot of expectations for Saturday, but still, when you wake up on Monday of the Iron Bowl week, it still feels special.
I mean, it's still, it's still the Alabama-Auburn game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's still the Alabama-Auburn game, and it doesn't really matter who has something to play for or not. I can't even remember. I mean, it's been years. Of course, Nick Saban, has really turned the program around, but I can't remember when both of the teams were not in some shape, form, or fashion fighting for not necessarily a playoff spot, but a championship opportunity or an SEC championship opportunity. I can't remember. So that says a lot about the two programs. They're always in the top tier of college football. But yeah, I mean, listen, Monday rolled around this week, and I'm like, man, it's Alabama-Auburn week.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting. I mean, I get fired up about it. I'm about to be 49 years old, and I'm like a little kid. So
yeah. Well, you look at the game and you look at kind of where we're headed with this thing. Alabama playing Auburn this week. Obviously the Iron Bowl, but we talked before we went on the air. For Alabama, it's a weird situation in that conceivably, if they lost the game to Auburn, and believe me, I'm not suggesting that, don't think that's going to happen. But even if they did lose to Auburn, it really doesn't hurt them going forward as far as the national championship race. They beat beat Georgia the following week. They're right back in the playoff. Does that do anything for the game? If you're an Alabama fan, I mean, I know it's the Iron Bowl. It still means a lot, but that's a weird situation for Alabama players to be in, where they're playing in a game that really doesn't have any effect on the outcome other than just the.
And that's a great point. I mean, as we, talked earlier, I as an Alabama fan, as a football fan, yes, I'm an Alabama fan, but as a football fan, I almost, as I mentioned, kind of wish that our guys would be humbled. And I know I don't want them to lose. I'd love for us to go undefeated and win the national championship every year, but that's just not realistic. It's just not realistic. But I almost want them to be humbled so that that hunger is there. I mean, you always hear about how great of a job Nick Saban does with keeping the guys focused and, tuned in and he does. He really does. He does a great job with that, because you're talking about 18, 19-year-old kids. We spoke about that before. It's scary to me. It's scary to me playing Auburn when Auburn is, not really playing for anything, so to speak, other than pride. That could be enough in a lot of cases. They're going to come out and throw everything in the kitchen sink at us, and that worries me. To be honest, it concerns me.
Well, let me ask you, Nick Saban, was he not the happiest person in college football on Saturday when it was 10-10 at the half with the Citadel? I mean, he couldn't be happier.
Yeah, they interviewed him at halftime, and he was just, it was not your upset Nick Saban that you've seen at halftime before. It was almost like, we've got things to work on, and then the second half they came out and took care of business, of course. But
were you guys? I was anticipating him to rip the person that was interviewed. I was anticipating him to just rip into him, but he was calm, like you said.
Now, me being an Auburn person, I'm thinking this is the worst thing that could happen to us a week out, is for them to not show up in the first half.
Oh yeah.
And then the second half went exactly what we all knew was going to happen.
I mean, again, we talked earlier. It's kind of scary. It makes me wonder. Nick Saban, did he tell the guys, hey man, let's take it a little easy, because at the end of the day, I'm Nick Saban, and I tried to tell everybody in the world that you can't take people for granted. And yeah, I agree. 10-10 halftime, he was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was on top of the world.
He really was.
Because he could say, "I tried to tell you that you can't take anybody like
all week." Yeah,
that's exactly right.
It's almost like he humbled them.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit of Iron Bowl history. We're going to talk about what our favorite games in the series have been, and look ahead to Saturday. We'll be back in just a minute.
State Farm agent Bob English is here to help protect all the moving parts of your life with auto, home, life, and financial services. Bob English and his team make it simple to bring together what matters to you. Get to a better state. Call Bob today.
She's ready. Extreme Power Sports' very own Polaris RZR Skylifter XP 1000, Trinity exhaust, Power Commander, 6-inch portals, RZR 3 to 5-inch lift, MSA 20-inch wheels wrapped with 35-inch BKTs, deluxe audio roof, LED light bar, Mud Park ready. We are ready to finance you on this Skylifter right now. Come check out all our off-road machines today at Extreme Power Sports.
All right, welcome back, folks. We're here for just another conversation. Again, Iron Bowl week, a lot of stuff to talk about. We mentioned that we're going to talk about some Iron Bowl memories, and I'm going to let these guys go first because I have one in mind. I'm sure they do too. But we want to, again, just say a quick shout out to our sponsors. We can't thank you guys enough for allowing us the opportunity to do this show. Thank you to Bob English. Without him, again, this just isn't possible. So we want to make sure that you guys go see Bob English when you get a chance at State Farm Insurance. And of course, my man right here, Mr. Dyer, make sure you see those guys over the break. I've got a lot of stuff going on for Black Friday, that's what I understand. So, all right, Iron Bowl week, favorite Iron Bowl memory. Jay?
Want me to go first? That's pretty easy for me. It would be 1989, Alabama coming to Auburn, first time ever. I never thought I would see it coming. And I'll tell you, I will be 50 in April. So to give you a little context about being an Auburn fan through my life, I was in 7th grade. Think about this. I was in 7th grade before I had any recollection of Auburn beating Alabama. 7th grade.
Wow.
Auburn beat them in 72. Punt, Bama punt. I was 3. Don't remember that one. So to win in 82 when I was in 7th grade, and then to get them there in 89, I was a junior at Auburn. And I just, I remember it like it was yesterday. Never thought I would see it happen. I was the sports director at WEGL at the time, the student radio station. And we were doing a live shot there of Tiger Walk. And to this day, I've never seen so many people in such a small location. I mean, that place was just crazy. Alabama undefeated, ranked number 2 in the country. Bill Curry was our coach. Auburn had lost a couple of games, didn't really know what to expect. But I mean, just the look on their faces, it was just something else. And the coolest thing about it, being from Phoenix City, we had 3 players in that game. We had James Joseph, we had Ed King, Marco Battle.
Yep.
Would have had Willie Riles had he not passed away. Would have had 4 Phoenix City guys.
Players.
4 touchdowns in that game were made by Phoenix City people. Marco, James Joseph.
Yep.
Think about that.
Bo Peep.
4 touchdowns from Central High School in the first time ever. So for me, that's always been a special one for me. I don't know that, kick 6 is great and all that, and that's an easy one to say. But I mean, for me, just the meaning behind it was really cool.
I think I was talking to the break, but the closest thing I could remember to this year, as far as Auburn being the underdog, was 2002 with Trey Smith, with Cadillac hurt and with Ronnie Brown hurt, and going into the game, just Auburn huge underdog, and Trey Smith comes in as third string running back and runs for over 100 yards up there in Tuscaloosa to take Tigers to the win. So that was pretty comparable to this year, but again, I'm not quite feeling those same vibes this year.
No.
But that was interesting for me.
Well, I'm going to tell you mine, and surprisingly, it's going to be an Auburn win. Years ago, I coached at Russell County High School, and I believe it was 2011. Alabama was up 28-7. I think it was 2011, if I'm not mistaken. I had to go coach a basketball game. I had to leave at halftime to go coach a basketball game. Russell County was playing Central. And I'm thinking, you know what, this is it. This is over. And I remember coaching in the game and somebody walking by me, and I heard them say, "Can you believe that game?" And I'm thinking to myself, we must have just poured it on them. And the game was over. I go to the locker room. We do everything we do, and I come out, and somebody said, "I can't believe Alabama lost." I was like, there ain't no way. And sure enough, I didn't even get to see it, but Alabama loses that game. So I watched it later, and Cam Newton just absolutely dominated the football game.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my.
I can't believe you didn't quit your job.
Listen, I'm going to tell you what, it was.
Knowing you, I'm surprised.
It was difficult. It was difficult because the next year it was the same scenario. We had to play Central and it's happening again. As a matter of fact, Russell County plays Central this coming Saturday, and I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I'm not coaching.
Shouldn't there be a law against that?
There should be. There should be. But yeah, so that was one of my fondest memories. Like I said, I thought we had it in the bag. I mean, I'm leaving, going to the game, feeling good about myself, and sure enough, we get beat. But I was reading, Jay, just talking about the Iron Bowl and what it brings to the table and some of the former players, and there's already some comparison about Tua or Bo. And the guy even said in his article, if you were building a team right now and you had to pick one offensive player, who would it be? And I'm going to tell you, I'm an Alabama fan, true and true now, but there isn't many better than Bo Jackson. And he did go on to say, let's talk about just from a college perspective, because Bo Jackson played baseball and was a star, played football and was a star in the NFL, but he, talked about just the college level. And there's a lot of folks leaning toward Tua, surprisingly, for me. And again, I'm an Alabama fan. What's your thoughts on that?
I go back. I shared this story with you. Pat Dye, former Auburn coach, was on Feinbaum. It's been about a week ago, and Feinbaum said, you've been around SEC football for all these years. You coached at Alabama for 9 years with Bryant. Where do you rank Tua? He says, I coached Kenny Stabler. He said, I was around when Namath played. He said, there's no comparison.
Wow.
He says, no comparison.
That's pretty impressive.
He says, I haven't seen a better one. And I have to say, it's hard to argue. I mean, he's been banged up the last few weeks. And we were laughing a few weeks ago. They said he kind of had an off day, and he threw for over 300 yards. I mean, that's what he's being held to now. So for me, I mean, I can't. You're not going to hear this guy say anything bad about. I think he's once in a
He's a special player. He's a special player.
He definitely is.
What's your thoughts?
I've been so impressed. I haven't watched all the Alabama games this year, but what I have seen is this kid is super, super impressive. And he spins the ball, and it looks like he's throwing. It's just the left-hand delivery is just so different than what you're used to seeing. But man, he is exciting. And he's fun to watch.
He is a special player. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you don't have to be an Alabama fan to appreciate that. I mean,
absolutely.
I said early on. As a matter of fact, before the season ever started, I was one of those that said there's no way Jalen Hurts doesn't start. I mean, you got a guy that's 26-2. Won a national championship, took them to the year before, and did everything he could possibly do. Drives down the field, scores late in the game. I was one of those that said there's no way that he, I see Tua come in and just, it's impressive. Yeah. I mean, just the fact that, the kid's 19 years old.
Yeah. It's kind of like Steve Young coming in after Joe Montana.
That's exactly right.
What it's like.
That's a very good analogy.
It is.
So yeah, it is. It's good to see as an Alabama fan, because listen, for years we have been a defensive team. We win on defense. I've said it over and over again. I remember beating Southern Miss years ago, 13-7. I remember barely beating Louisiana Monroe. And of course, we lost to them back when Saban first started, but barely beating them 13-10.
That was in another universe and another time.
I mean, so, it's great as an Alabama fan to see us actually be dominant offensively, because we really never have been dominant offensively.
Yeah. We are now.
It's so impressive, yeah.
I got a good stat. You'll be impressed. I know this from Alabama, and I thought this was interesting. Alabama is the first team in college football history to win their first 11 games by 20 or more points.
I saw, as a matter of fact, I did see that stat.
That's amazing.
That is, you think about the Florida teams back.
Oh yeah, and Spurrier.
When Spurrier was there, and
they were dominant.
They were beating. It seems like they were beating teams to death every time they played. 60 plus points here and 50 plus there and 70 there, and so that is an impressive stat. But here again, as everyone has seen the last few games, it takes one little hit, and everybody in the stadium goes silent.
In full disclosure, I was watching Auburn's, one of their few wins this year on Saturday, so I didn't get to see much or any of the Citadel game other than the 10-10 halftime that went out across the world. Tua's knee. How did he look?
Well, Jay, I was fortunate to go last Monday to Alabama, got a tour of the facility, Mal Moore's facility, and actually sat in on a little walkthrough. They really didn't have practice, they had a walkthrough. And he looked good to me. Again, that's kind of, that's not from the media, that's not from Coach Saban, that was me standing there in the indoor facility watching them run around.
Looked healthy.
He looked healthy. Jalen looked better. He still didn't look 100%, but he looked better. And in my opinion, I think that's huge. Saturday, Jalen looked really good. He moved really well. So that's going to be critical. It's key because, you never know. I mean, this is we've all played, we all know that football's a collision sport. Yeah. Let's get it away from the contact. It's a collision sport, especially at that level. So you never know what might happen, but it's certainly good to see that Jalen is somewhat healthy and has a little bit more, gives everybody a little bit more confidence with respect to a backup. Not that Mac Jones can't get it done. I think Mac Jones is a really good backup, but just hadn't had the experience. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with the Iron Bowl special.
She's ready. Extreme Power Sports' very own Polaris RZR Skylifter XP1000, Trinity exhaust, Power Commander, 6-inch portals, RZR 3 to 5-inch lift, MSA 20-inch wheels wrapped with 35-inch BKTs, deluxe audio roof, LED light bar, Mud Park ready. We are ready to finance you on this Skylifter right now. Come check out all our off-road machines today at Extreme Power Sports.
Savings this big come with their own theme music. State Farm agent Bob English in Phoenix City can help you get all the discounts you deserve with a free discount double check. After all, real savings should fold, not jingle. Get to a better state. Call Bob today.
And welcome back in. All right, guys, let's turn to the game this Saturday. We've talked about the past, now let's talk
There's
about
a game?
Yeah, that's what I hear. Let's talk about Saturday, keys to the game. From an Auburn standpoint, really the defense is going to have to play well. The defense has played well at times. First month of the season, they were playing as well as anybody in the country. Slipped back a little bit. Had a really good game last week. I know they were playing Liberty, but your opinion, that defensive side of the ball is where it's, where if Auburn's to have a chance, that's where it starts.
Yeah, I mean, it starts up front with those big guys. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, Alabama's so good on the offensive and defensive lines, and that's where you win the football games. But Auburn's defensive front doesn't seem to be playing as well as they did earlier in the season, and that goes all the way back to the linebacker course. And those guys have got to step up. We know we've got young guys in the secondary, but those defensive guys have got to step up. And then as far as offensively, the personnel groupings has been a concern with Auburn with such major shifts in personnel and regroupings to where it's hard to get a momentum if you're constantly changing personnel. And so the Auburn fans want to see a grouping of, these are my best guys, let's get down the field and let's run it without substituting. Yeah. And let's get a pace and let's get some momentum going, because you're seeing too much interaction and it seems to stall everything.
Yeah. So if you're on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, you got to allow for Tua. Mm-hmm. He's got wheels. They got a stable of running backs. What do? Do you put eight in the box and hope for the best? Do you?
I think you just about have to, because between the two and that big running back they've got, I mean, they're going to try to run the football.
Yeah.
But what makes Alabama so good is, of course, Tua is just a dynamic player. But man, that Judy guy they've got on the outside is just tremendous as far as the wide out. He may be as talented as Cooper or the Ridley kid that came out. I mean, this guy's just super talented. So they've got their weapons. Yeah.
Sean, what about? Let's first talk about Damian Harris.
Well, Damian Harris, of course, is in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
I do know that he was back out there today. nothing major, but he was back out there today. Saban said he was day to day. My gut feeling is he won't be able to play. I don't know that. I haven't seen that. My gut feeling is generally when you're in concussion protocol, you're talking about a week to 2 weeks. I wouldn't certainly say that we're taking the game lightly because we aren't. However, there is a big SEC championship game, and that's your senior running back. Now, yes, everybody talks about Alabama having a stable of running backs, and we do. We have a lot of really talented running backs. But Damian Harris is a senior. He's a leader on the team. So if I had to bet, I would bet that he would not play Saturday against Auburn. Mm-hmm. But, that remains to be seen. I'm going to tell you guys, I think the way that Auburn's going to affect us is they're going to get pressure on Tua. I mean, Auburn's defense is really, really good. Yeah, they've had some games where they've struggled. At the end of the day, they're going to be way more motivated. Their front seven is really tough. I think they've seen maybe a blueprint. I mean, look, there's no mistake. LSU did a really good job. Mississippi State did an even better job getting pressure and affecting Tua. Now, we still won the ball game, and I'm thankful for that.
By 29.
But listen, if you're going to impact a big-time player, you got to get him out of his comfort zone. Mm-hmm. You got to get him out of his comfort zone. That's
the only way Auburn even remotely has
fortunately
they've got to get pressure.
Fortunately for Tua, and it's what I've said before, listen, A.J. McCarron wasn't a stellar quarterback, but you know what he did? He had guys around him that were phenomenal. Get the ball to those guys. I hope that Tua has matured enough over the course of the season, maybe banged up a little bit. I think he's feeling pretty well, but there's always that fear, is that he has matured enough to know that he doesn't have to do it all. Get it to the guys around you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of my take on that.
This is a loaded question. If Alabama has a weakness, what is it besides kicking?
I was going to say that's easy. Without a doubt, the kicking game is just, you can't even say it's halfway decent. It's terrible, and it's mind-boggling to me. We talked about it on the show last week. I mean, how does the number one team in the country, and no offense, the number one team in the country for 72 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
How do you have such a poor kicking game? And I wished I knew the answer. I don't know the answer. I don't know. I hope somebody can answer that for me at some point. I know Saban's bothered by it. I know that he said it's all facets. It's the snap, the hold, the kick. It's when you're not making good contact, there's something wrong. For me to identify another weakness, it's tough. Just to be honest, it is. It's tough. I mean,
I can't wait for the day that when our weakest link is the kicking game.
Yeah, it's 8-4, and then back to the mountaintop for us. We don't know which way we're going.
Yeah.
Up and down with our Auburn seasons.
It's the same thing I've said. I mean, I would prefer to be in the situation that we're in and struggle in the kicking game, as opposed to have a really good kicker and be 8-4 or 7-5 or
Oh yeah.
I've said it over and over again. My brother wants to cuss me every single time we talk about it, and he does. He's like, that's just so bad, and I'm like, hey, would you rather be playing for an SEC championship, probably a national championship, year after year after year, and at the end of the day, that's the thing for me. I'd love to see our guys make kicks. I'd love to have seen us make the kick last year in the national championship game and not have to go into overtime and throw a 2nd and 26 touchdown, but that didn't work that way.
Yeah.
But you know what? There are some weaknesses. It's tough to see from us looking in. It's tough to see, but Saban is legit when he says there's some things we need to improve on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the last two games that they've sacked our quarterback. They've sacked I think Mississippi State had 4, LSU had 3.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's some things that has to improve, and if somebody's going to get in there and affect him early, rattle him early, it'd be interesting to see how he handles that early on in a game.
Mm-hmm. Jason, I want to ask you, Jared Stidham. on again, off again. Auburn rolled up a lot of offense Saturday, but lost in all of that. They finished 1 for 10, 1 for 11 on third down conversions against one of the worst defenses in the country. What does Auburn have to do to convert on third downs? I mean, and now we're asking them to do it against the best defense in the country.
Well, I think I was telling my dad, I think, 3rd and 1 in the game Saturday, we're driving, 3rd and 1, snaps the ball to Stidham, he fumbles.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do you see your starting quarterback fumble a 3rd down? And so we go from, either him diving forward or handing the ball off to get an automatic first down, basically, to where we're punting. And that's been the epitome of our season. That's been the perfect example of what we've experienced this year. It's been overthrows. It's been just inconsistent play from the quarterback issue. And he's had some good games. He's had some, he's certainly a good player. He's got the potential to be good, and he's probably going to be great in the NFL when he leaves Auburn. But it's been very inconsistent this year. It's just hard to put your finger on it. I think one big thing that I think is lacking that you've seen in successful quarterbacks at Auburn, like Cam Newton and Nick Marshall, is leadership. And I don't see him interacting on the sidelines with the guys. I think there's definitely some leadership issues there. So,
assuming this game goes as we expect it to go, what's the best case scenario for Auburn Saturday? What does Gus Malzahn need to get out of this game, assuming he doesn't win? I can't believe I'm asking that, but that's where we are.
Well, I think it's just hard to me envision with our offense this year us scoring more than maybe 17 points at the most.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, a 17-24, 17-27, we're still on the wrong end of the stick, but we say, well, you know what? We went in there, we went toe-to-toe to Alabama, we played a good game. Maybe that'll give us some momentum for the bowl game. And that's not feeling good about it, but that's kind of, the best scenario.
It's reality right now.
Right, that's right.
For you, Sean, for Alabama, what's the best case scenario for them? They're expected to win. And, if you're fully honest with us, your biggest games lie ahead. It's not Saturday. We're saying that about the Iron Bowl, but it's reality. What's the best case scenario for you? I guess number one, stay healthy.
That's going to be the key. I mean, we're expected to win the game. I'd love to see that happen, but we need to stay healthy. I mean, there's a big game. The following Saturday, December the 1st, the SEC championship game. We anticipate going to the SEC championship game every year. We didn't get to do it last year. So that's a big game. Our players are looking forward to that. I don't think they're looking past Auburn. I think they want to take care of business. I'd like to see us take care of business, stay healthy. I'd like to see us have equal success running the football and throwing the football. A lot of times, this year, heck, we've thrown for more yards. We haven't ran the ball that great. We started out running it well against Mississippi State. They made some adjustments and then just shut us down. So I'd like to see a big balance, but the key is staying healthy. That's the bottom line. If we stay healthy, as an Alabama fan, I'm going to find it very difficult for someone to match up toe-to-toe with us and go four quarters.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Staying healthy is the key.
Yeah.
It's the key.
Yep. All right, final thoughts. We'll let you go first.
Well, from an Auburn perspective, I think you going into the game, you want to see the guys play with energy, enthusiasm, no matter what happens. And even though Auburn hasn't had the season, that the fans want, we haven't seen quit this year. We saw that in 2012. We've seen it, in years past where when the ship's going down, you can kind of see it in the team. But we want to see the team rally and play well, play with energy and enthusiasm. And I thought we did that for the most part during the Georgia game. And they broke our back at the end. But, you want to see more of that and see the guys rally. And like I said, we need some momentum, need to play well, show great effort, and then, get to that bowl game.
All right. Sean.
Well, I think that there's going to be no question it's going to be an intense, passionate game. I think Auburn's going to come ready to play. I think that they have nothing to lose. That's, as I mentioned before, that's a little scary for me because I don't want our guys to play thinking we have something to lose. I want them to go out there and play the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm hoping that Nick Saban has done what he's done all year, and that's have the guys ready. as you mentioned, when 73 weeks in and you're the #1 team, it's tough to get 18 and 19-year-olds just to, and you're hearing that you're a 24-point favorite, and you're, I don't care how good you are as this 18-year-old. I know how I was. I'm like, man, this is So I'm really looking forward to seeing us come in and be focused. I'm going to tell you, I really think that Auburn's going to, listen, it's the Iron Bowl. It's fortunately for us, it's in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
That you guys probably think, well, you're just saying that. Listen, I'm really happy that this game is in Tuscaloosa because that's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference for us. Hopefully, we'll feed off the crowd, and I'm expecting us to win the game. But listen, make no mistake about it. Anything can happen, and if they stay in there through the first 2 quarters, it's a ball game in the second half. So
Nick Saban says revenge is not a factor. I don't necessarily buy into that, but
Yes, and again, you're talking about 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was revenge for me.
Sure.
I went to Woodland Christian Academy, and we played. Glenwood was our biggest rival. Well, listen, if they beat us the year before, or if they beat us in basketball, we were out to get them. It didn't,
Yeah.
And I know that he does a great job at that whole mental aspect of it. But those kids, they want to win.
Sure.
Period. They want to win. I know Jalen Hurts wants to play in the game and have a good game because he didn't play well last.
Why you go to Alabama? It's why you go to Auburn.
That's exactly right.
Guys, this has been fun.
It has been.
I enjoy having good conversation about Auburn and Alabama, and it not be like the Fine Bomb Show where people are screaming at each other.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what good conversation's about. I've looked forward to this all year, and it's lived up to the hype. I hope you've enjoyed it. Auburn, Alabama, they kick off Saturday at 3:30 p.m. on CBS from Bryant-Denny Stadium. I know everybody will be tuned in. Be sure to check out Tide Talk. I know they'll have a bowl show. We'll be having a bowl show on Track 'em Tigers. Have a good week, War Eagle, and
Roll Tide.